Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi project. For today's episode, I actually have a special solo episode for you guys, and it is about overthinking. The reason why I want to talk about this is because more than now, ever, I think as humans, we are overthinking. And I think it's because we have too much exposure to too much knowledge, too much information, and too many people with the media and the internet. So we end up having just too much in our heads and we end up overthinking. A lot of times in the past, like way in the past, people never had that problem because they didn't have too much information to even overthink about. It was just who they knew, what they knew, and very small amount of people or group. So with nowadays, I think it's a huge problem with us having so much information and ending up overthinking and getting stressed out. And then that is leading us to really get overwhelmed, not take any action, and therefore either stay stagnant or not really move towards our dream life or goals or priorities or anything like that. But before I really get into this, I do want to give credit to this book. It's called Unstoppable Self-Confidence. And I actually kind of started reading this book to do a little bit more research. I do want to do a good podcast episode for people who need to build their confidence, because I think that's almost like the initial key of how to be successful in personal life or in business. So anyways, side note, so I was doing that research, but I was like, okay, this chapter about overthinking is really got my attention, because lately I've been finding myself that I am overthinking about certain things and how I want to proceed. You know, it's the new year now, it's 2023. So I'm kind of like, okay, let me just regroup and think about everything. But I found myself kind of overthinking. So when I came across this as I was doing my research, I was like, well, this will be a great episode for me and for everybody else. Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry. Well, for a very long time, my motto has been stop thinking, start doing. And honestly, that has helped me really be successful in business, because anytime that I really sat down and thought about anything, I would pretty much get overwhelmed and not take any action. Again, very common. Us humans do that all the time. So I decided that I wasn't going to overthink. I wasn't going to think too much. Instead, I was going to take one tiny action to move towards my goal. So since I came to that conclusion, I want to say this is about 8 years ago, I really started doing this. Everything honestly was working out and was working great. And it also helped me to be a better decision maker, because I didn't take too much information into consideration before I came into a solution. But before I kind of tell you guys kind of how I go about it to make sure I don't overthink when it comes to making a decision or taking action or just overall keeping my mind clear of overthinking, let me talk about overthinking itself. We are actually getting paralyzed by our thoughts. We are letting our minds control us, where in reality, we need to really work on controlling our minds. Here's why too much thinking or overthinking is really a problem. A lot of times, people want to take action towards their goals, their dreams, or even make decisions on their business or personal lives, but they just don't, or they can't, and they think it's too hard, and they don't take action. They get paralyzed and they get stuck, and they just think, oh, I don't have enough information to make my decision or to move forward. So they start doing more research, they start looking online, they start asking around, they start asking for advice, they learn more, maybe they take up a class. Literally, we just gather more and more information, hoping that this is going to give us, again, more information to base our decisions on. But in reality, we are paralyzing ourselves with all this extra clutter and buying time and procrastinating from making that decision and taking action. And one thing that was really interesting, that it was like a cool like aha moment for me with this book, is that we don't really procrastinate, or we don't really overthink and like stop from doing anything and taking action because it's too hard, or we don't have the answers, or we don't know what to do. In reality, a lot of times we know exactly what to do and what the action should be. Instead, we kind of use this overthinking and overanalyzing as an excuse, because when we do make that decision or do take that action, we're scared. What if whatever we do, of how it's going to make us feel? It's actually what it's going to do to us and our ego and how we feel, compared to us not knowing. When I kind of initially came across this, I was like, is this really true? Let me see, like, does this apply to me? And as I thought about it, and honestly, it really does. So if I am going to, and a lot of times we do know what we should do in our gut feeling or in our intuition, or at least with limited knowledge and research, we always know what we should do or what we can do for our action step. But I think a lot of times we're afraid of how it's going to come out. So again, that leads to how we're feeling. So an example would be, I want to start a business, right? Since this is a business podcast, personal development podcast. So we want to start a business. And then you say, okay, no, I don't know where to start. I have never started a business. I don't know what to do. I search online. There's all this information. Do I go to school? Do I get a business degree? What business do I start? How much money do I need? All these thoughts, all these questions, all of this just kind of bombard our minds. And then we start asking around, we do more research, and we're just really like just pushing it, and we're overwhelmed. But the reality of it is, we can just take one little action step and take that step to take action in order to get to our goal of starting a business. But we're afraid. We're afraid of what? Our ego tells us we're afraid, if I do start a business, I'm going to fail. Or what if I fail? What if people don't support me? What if, right? So it's that negative feeling that I have behind it that's really paralyzing me in order for me to take action. So this was kind of like a nice wake up call for me too. It's like, okay, now anytime I'm kind of stuck on making a decision, and lately, honestly, in my business, in my personal life, I have a lot going on, right? So I have 2 little kids. I'm running my e-commerce business. We sell worldwide eyelash products. We have the office, the team, the people to manage. I always need to hire people, look for better opportunities. I have a physical location now, also doing the salon services. So I need to make sure those people are trained, clients are not complaining. So a lot, right? And then I started overthinking, did I make the right decision on opening up the salon services again? Because that's something I recently started again. I was kind of taking a break from that, or decided that I was going to stop services and only focus on education and my product line and, the podcast, because that's really kind of my calling for fun. Anyways, side note. But yeah, so all of that started coming back, and I was like, okay, should I really be doing the salon? Because it's so time consuming. I'm getting home later, taking time away from the kids. How should I do it? Should I hire a manager? Should I do this? And at one point, all that was very clear to me, until I want to say maybe like a little bit of doubt or something came into my head, or fear. Is like, okay, am I going to be able to trust other people running this? Is this too much of a headache? Am I going to be able to have the full clientele, to have all these lash artists, to be able to have different locations, right? So even a little trickle of doubt that came into my head, I started kind of questioning, okay, should I really be doing this part of it? Or should I be putting my 100% focus on the podcast? If I do, maybe like that could really be my next journey, because I feel like I have graduated, maybe the services, the education. So now it's really, maybe I should only be doing the podcast and my business coaching. So anyway, so So all of that felt like I was indecisive and everything. So then now I started kind of looking at it at a different angle. So I started sitting and looking, okay, is it really that I don't know what to do? And another example was too, like our marketing agency, for example, that helps me with certain things with my e-commerce. I was like, okay, is this really working? Is this worth the investment, or do I want to stop and try a different type of marketing? And it was so hard for me to make that decision. I still haven't 100% decided yet, because I think I was afraid if I pull that part out, instead of me not knowing what to do, which I know what other type of marketing I want to try, it's actually, I'm afraid that if I take that piece out, what if my sales drop, right? So now that whole concept is like, whoa, yeah, it is actually my fears of what I feel instead of me not knowing what to do. Deep down in my gut feeling, I know I need to try a different approach for this year and to see how it goes, right? So that's kind of my kind of obsession at this current moment. I think I needed a reminder about the overthinking, because for a very long time, everything was going great and steady in my business, in my life, and all of that. And in 2022, actually, for the first time in a long time, things kind of started feeling a little shaky. My sales were lower than normal. I opened a new chapter, which was committing to the podcast, having another kid, and also opening the salon services again. So yes, I think I needed the reminder to go back to my mindset, and my way of doing things and business was the reminder of the not overthinking. So that's also why, again, this is the Yegi project. So I'm always working on myself and sharing it with you guys so you guys can do the same. But long story short, this is why this topic is really triggered me. And I know in the past, I would always tell people, stop overthinking, just take action. One thing. That has been my motto. And now I'm going to go back and stick to that motto too, even with small decisions as I'm making throughout my, career and my business. And I think just keeping those things in mind is really going to help me figure out what I'm doing as my next steps, as my action. Am I procrastinating, not making a decision because I'm afraid of how it's going to turn out, what it's going to make me feel like, or am I really not sure of what to do? Okay. And if I'm not sure of what to do, my plan is actually spend little time, literally 1 day or less, doing some research and forcing myself, almost putting, and I do this, I put a clock and I have 15 minutes to make a decision. The first thing that comes to my mind, whatever is I decide, I'm just sticking with it. I'm not going back and thinking, but what if I do it this way? But how about this other option? Let me research, see what other people are doing. That's almost the death of me. Anytime I have done that in the past, it has never worked. I've just gotten more overwhelmed, and I've gotten more, afraid, or more, my confidence has gone down, because then there's just too much, and there's maybe all these people doing all these other things. And I know this is common. I've worked with a lot of people to know that I was not the only one who goes through that. So I want to share with you, hopefully, if you are going through something like that, you kind of catch yourself, and maybe you do kind of like what I do now. Spend less than a day and then do your research, get whatever information. Then the next day, first thing in the morning, is the best time for us to make decisions, actually, because we're not overstimulated with different things that we make decisions on throughout our days. So that one day I'll spend on research and kind of figuring out my options. Then I'll sleep on it, table it. Then in the morning, I'll put my timer, give myself 15 minutes and consider what I need to consider, and that's it. I make the decision. By the 15 minutes, whatever I decided, no going back, no questioning it, nothing else. I just start taking action with one little step at a time to move towards that goal or that decision or whatever that I was trying to figure out. Another thing I want to point out too, again, I think that as humans, we are always programmed that there is the best answer or the right answer. But in reality, in real life, there really is not one way of doing something. There isn't one correct answer. Of course, if it's anything precise, 1 + 1 = 2, forget about that. I'm not talking about that. But just in general, in life and our decisions and our personal and business, there isn't one way of doing things, and there is no one right answer, no cookie cutter approach for any of us. Even if it's the same goal and passion that we have, our paths are going to be all totally different. So we want to keep that in mind and not overstress about really taking the time to make sure I'm doing this the best way. If we do that, we're more likely not going to take any action, and we're just going to literally waste our time years. Yeah, a lot of people spend years on doing research and overthinking, and nothing happens. Compared to if, again, we just literally do a little bit of research, make the decision, take some action, then if it wasn't the best, you still learn from it, you still progress, you still could take your next action item and actually grow and move towards your goal instead of literally just being in the same place but wasting time. One other best practice I want to say for me with overthinking along the years has been really just embrace the uncertainty. As we talked about in life, there's no one way, there's no right answer, one answer. Really, there's a lot of uncertainty in life. And as humans, as people, we really hate that actually. We like to know what's coming. We don't like change. And this is by nature, right? We can work on ourselves to get better at these things, be more adaptable, really embrace it. But it takes some work. And I think the first step is for us to realize that that's normal. Uncertainty is normal. And being unsure, being not knowing what to do and not having an exact plan of your life, it's normal. So don't be so hard on yourself. Not knowing how something's going to turn out is out of your control. A lot of times, even financial analysts and all of this, let's compare it to a new business, right? So anytime somebody purchases or gets into a new business, let's talk about maybe like an investor, they look at all the financials, they do all of this, and they invest in a business. Now they make the best possible choice quickly in order to start their investment, but the chances of that succeeding is still uncertain. No matter how carefully they analyze it and what they do, there is always a lot of uncertainty, because in life too, there's a lot of things that could go not according to how we plan, and we have no control over it. A lot of times, okay? Some things we have control over, and that's great. We should control. And I really do believe in that too, control the controllables. And if it's something outside of your control, just let it happen. Embrace it and move on. And the same thing with the uncertainty. Know that it's there. So don't spend too much time to trying to find like an exact solution, exact path, exact step. Instead, take action. Know that there is going to be an outcome, and you're not 100% sure of what it exactly is going to turn out to be, but that's okay. That's normal. That's kind of the exciting part of it, actually. If we knew exactly how everything was going to play out, how freaking boring will our life be? Some of you are thinking maybe, no, if I knew for sure that this business or this relationship was going to be successful and happy and great, yeah, that's all I want. I want to know for sure. Then I want to jump into it. But honestly, really think about it. How boring will that be if you knew exactly how every day was going to play out like and how every outcome was going to be? I don't know. I can't even imagine knowing that. I don't want that. Give me the mess and uncertainty and the ups and downs. That's so fun. But yes, so that's actually what's also going to help us keep growing, keep evolving, keep like reanalyzing and taking new action. And like I said, it's part of life. Just embrace it. And I think you will be happier, and it will be easier to make decisions and choices and take action in order to move steps closer to your dreams and your goals. All right, let's talk about risk, because risk also goes into all of this. So when we're overthinking also, we're also afraid of a risk, right? So don't be afraid of risks. Unless we take risks, we're not going to know again how it's going to turn out. Even if it turns out bad and it ends up being a mistake, worst case, you learn from it, you evolve and you move on, and then you can try again. That's literally the ingredients to success. Keep trying until you succeed. But taking the risk and failing is part of it. So let's not be afraid of any of that. We can't be afraid of risk, and we can't be afraid of fear or failing itself, because actually failing is good. That's how we get closer to evolving and learning, right? I think we're just kind of programmed in a way where failing is bad, when we make mistakes is bad. We want to initially always just do the right thing, don't make mistakes, win, it's better. But in reality, if we change our way of thinking, even the way we teach our kids and the way we react and are with them, and I started practicing this with my son, and he's only like 2 years old, but I see such a change in his attitude compared to other 2-year-olds around him. So this is what we do actually. So I don't make any mistakes or anything that he doesn't get right a big deal. And that's what I do for myself too. And it helps a lot, so what? I fail, I make a mistake, it happens. Deal with it, right? Let's analyze it, learn from it, move on, take different actions, see how those turn out. With him, this is what I kind of started doing. I started not making mistakes or anything that he does wrong a big deal. And I really do see a change in his attitude compared to other kids. So this is what I do. So let's say he's playing with a certain toy where there is a right way of doing a task and there is a wrong way of doing a task. Or, if it's a little car, instead of going into its path, like it falls. So instead of saying, oh no, it fell, I say, okay, it's okay. Try again. That's literally my reaction to anything that's bad or negative that he does, or if it's wrong. Can't think of any specific examples right now, but literally I catch him so many times that he says, it's okay, mama, try again. And he's so happy about it. Like, it's like, it's not a big deal. Oh, well, I failed. I'm going to try again. And I really think that we can kind of be aware and relearn that for ourselves, but also teach that forward to our kids as well, so they're not afraid. Or at least, I want my kids to set them up as much as I can for them to be successful. So this is one thing that I've had to learn the hard way. I had to really work on my programming, so I'm going to teach it to him that way, and it really works. Where I see other kids, when they get frustrated, they can't figure a toy or something out, instead of saying, it's okay, try again, their reaction is more like they're angry, they're mad, they're yelling, they're sad. So it's all negative emotions. And again, that's going to hold them back, because they're not going to try again and figure it out. Instead, they're just going to be frustrated. They're going to be kicking and screaming. They're sad and they're done. They give up. They don't want to try again. Here's another interesting thing that we do as humans. I think a lot of times our ego is so strong. I don't know what the right way of saying that is, but we are afraid of failing, so we don't even try at all. Like, it's that simple. But think about it. If we don't even try, let's say we just don't want our egos hurt, we don't try, we literally have already failed. So nothing's going to change. We're not getting any closer to that thing that we want to try. So why not try? Your chances are way higher to get what you want compared to not trying. Also, I want you guys to pay attention to your busyness, because I catch myself doing this too, okay? So a lot of times I do feel really busy and overwhelmed because I put a lot on my plate, but then I have to catch myself and be like, okay, all of this stuff on my plate, is it leading me to my goal? Does it have a clear, defined purpose of why I'm doing all of these things on my plate? And anytime any of it is a no, so me scrolling on my phone or watching a TV show, the answer is no, these are not helping me towards a goal, then I really mindfully try to cut that out or minimize it as much as I can. So then again, I'm not just working on busy work compared to doing stuff that's leading me to the dream life that I want. But let me leave you guys with this. What if you stopped overthinking and just took action and everything worked out? Why can't this be you? When you take a chance, even if you make a lot more mistakes and have a lot more failures along the way, the chance of a greater life and more opportunities are extremely more likely than when you don't take a chance. Well, I hope I encouraged you to stop overthinking and start taking action. And that's it for today. Until next time, bye. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.